The showbiz capital of the world once saw real drama. Ancient sea monsters hunted above the stars on Hollywood Boulevard. Predatory dinosaurs battled on the sun-baked beaches. And giant fanged cats prowled what is now Sunset Strip, leaving their perfectly preserved remains in an oily pit at the center of the city. This is the blood-soaked story of what lived, fought, and died in prehistoric Los Angeles. Los Angeles, home of surfers, movie moguls, and the paparazzi that stalk the stars. But once, the streets of LA were stalked by more dangerous creatures.
Today, all the monsters in Hollywood are on the silver screen. But there were real-life monsters. Monsters with sharp teeth, long necks, something that would come straight out of a horror movie.
"40,000 years ago, saber-toothed cats ripped the flesh from Ice Age mammoths. 20 million years ago, a clash of continents creates a fault line that could destroy the city when the big one hits. 80 million years ago, a faster, agile version of T-Rex sinks its fangs into herds of gentle giants. 100 million years ago, the city is a mile underwater, and deep-sea monsters fight for survival above the Hollywood hills. Today, LA's past is mostly paved over. But there's a very famous place where it all comes bubbling to the surface: the La Brea Tar Pits. This graveyard for prehistoric beasts is just west of downtown, along a strip of museums and cafes known as LA's Miracle Mile. But travel back 20,000 years ago to the Ice Age. And the traffic on this street is much more wild.
Miracle Mile, in a lot of ways, was once Monster Mile because it was populated by saber-toothed cats, by mammoths, all sorts of Ice Age creatures.
It is late in the Pleistocene era, a geological epoch stretching from 1 million BC to 10,000 BC. 20,000 years ago, the LA region is experiencing the end of the last ice age. It's not as cold as the rest of the continent, since the great ice sheets of the age only cover the top half of North America. But sunny Southern California isn't very sunny.
The average temperature was 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and we got something like 19 inches of rain. So the climate then was more like Montana or North Dakota.
The LA basin is filled with sycamore, oak, and ash trees.
In the deep canyons, you'd have coastal redwood. And that too indicates that the climate here in Los Angeles was cooler and wetter than it is today.
Yet one wet-looking spot in this chilly terrain is more dangerous than it looks. Ice Age giants are lured to the reflective surface to drink. But instead of stepping in fresh water, they encounter a pit of tar. Ancient bison, mammoth, giant sloths.
It is a lot like quicksand or molasses. And you can't pull yourself out, and then before you know it, you're more stuck. The more you struggle, the more you're stuck. And it's not a quick death, it's a slow, painful death.
These creatures will be stuck here forever. Today, the oily death trap known as the La Brea tar pits has become a treasure trove for modern scientists. It is the source of over 3 million Ice Age fossils.
The La Brea tar pits produce the really tall mammoths, plus some mastodons, plus giant camels, plus horses. It's a fantastic menagerie that got caught in the tar sand.
Pure, raw petroleum bubbles to the surface here at La Brea. One of the few places on Earth where crude oil literally lies on the surface. Local sand mixes with the raw black oil to create a thick, sticky tar that has trapped creatures here for over 50,000 years.
There's no other place like this on Earth. It's the only major paleontological dig in the middle of a major metropolitan area. Right on the edges of museums and shopping and markets and major streets is this time capsule from the Ice Age.
New discoveries continue to bubble up from the tar. In 2008, the skeleton of a male mammoth was uncovered. It was nicknamed Zed and is one of the most complete mammoth fossils ever discovered. Surrounding the area were fossils of trees, plants, small mammals, and insects. A complete environmental snapshot of the Ice Age. These discoveries show that Ice Age LA was a hugely diverse ecosystem, with over 650 different species of plants, giant birds, small reptiles, and the monsters they call mega mammals. Some of the strange Ice Age beasts include the giant ground sloth, a 6-foot-tall plant eater, an Ice Age version of the camel, and a 12-foot-tall, short-faced bear. But no creature put the mega into mega mammals more than Columbian mammoths, like Zed.
Think of the largest elephant you've ever seen and make it even bigger. 13 feet high at the shoulder, 15,000 pounds. These things were huge.
The giant herbivore packs away 700 pounds of vegetation per day. To protect itself, the Columbian mammoth is armed with a pair of giant tusks. They can get up to 16 feet long. Zed's tusks were 10 feet of curving ivory. Mammoths first evolved in Africa 4 million years ago, migrating through Asia and across a land bridge to America in about 2 million BC. 20,000 years ago, mammoths roamed Los Angeles in herds of up to 20 individuals. But strangely, even though mammoths dominated Ice Age LA, not many are found in the La Brea tar pits.
We only have about 35 individuals compared to the thousands of direwolves or saber-toothed cats. And so they didn't often get trapped. The peculiar thing is, of our 35 mammoths that we've got, most of them are young males.
Zed, the mammoth, was one of those males. The question is, why did only males get stuck? Paleontologists believe the simple explanation is sex. Like modern elephant herds, mammoth herds were made up of females and their young. When a male reached sexual maturity, he went rogue, pushed out of the herd to find his own mate. Male mammoths wandered, looking for partners, looking for trouble. Zed found it.
Zed had 3 broken ribs on the right side of his body. He could have been a rogue bull mammoth and had pain inflicted on him in some sort of conflict.
Conflicts with other lusty males were one danger for lone mammoths. Another was the tar. A herd of mammoths might be able to help one of their own to freedom from the sticky pit. A rogue male can't free himself alone. Stuck and unable to defend himself, a mammoth like Zed becomes a target.
When you have a huge mammoth trapped, think of the biggest elephant you've ever seen being trapped, unable to move. That would attract all of the carnivores in the area, possibly for miles, for a free lunch.
And who better to seize the opportunity of a juicy prize but LA's quintessential Ice Age super predator, the saber-toothed cat. Beverly Hills, home to celebrities, millionaires, and the most expensive real estate in the entire world. But travel back 80,000 years ago. And world-famous Rodeo Drive would have seen very different foot traffic. Beverly Hills is a stinking swamp. Thick forests replace the cafes and high-end retail shops. The boulevards are now a tangled pathway for herds of gigantic Pleistocene beasts.
Going back to the Pleistocene was like going to Africa on safari.
It would just be mainly a whole bunch of really terrifying animals. Saber-toothed cats, ground sloths, mammoths.
And the remains of this diverse ecosystem can be found here, in a pit of tar, right down the street from the shopping mecca of Rodeo Drive. Over 3 million creatures have been found in the tar pits. But there's a mystery here. Predators far outnumber the remains of prey. At the top of the Pleistocene food chain is the saber-toothed tiger, or saber-toothed cat. In a violent prehistoric world, this feline stands center stage. It fears no one and no thing.
A saber-toothed cat is the size of an average male African lion, between 200 and 500 pounds.
But its key weapons are its 9-inch long fangs, razor sharp, front and back. They're designed not to bite and hold like modern big cats, but to slash open skin, raw muscle, and pulsing arteries. The skeletal structure reveals that a saber-tooth didn't use raw speed to chase down its prey. Instead, the saber-tooth uses stealth and brute force. When a mammoth gets stuck, a big cat sees a perfect opportunity.
The most reasonable crime scene reconstruction is that some of these big plant eaters got stuck in the tar sand, and the saber-toothed cats were attracted to the struggles.
Normally, an 11-ton mammoth could destroy a saber-tooth. But stuck in the tar, the giant beast becomes a target the saber-tooth can't resist.
Saber-toothed cats had to be careful, because if we're right, they're attacking big, dangerous prey. You've got to kill the prey or abort the attack. Because if you wound an elephant, that only makes him mad.
The tar makes the cat's job easier. The mammoth can't move or fight, and the cat now deploys his brutally efficient killing technique.
Saber-toothed mouth can open extremely wide. It doesn't have an especially strong bite, but because it can open very wide, the cat can use its neck muscles to pull the whole head down in a wide, slashing motion.
The cat delivers the killing blow. But instead of catching a juicy meal, the saber-tooth will find himself trapped. The tar is about to claim a new victim.
They jump on board, then they themselves would get stuck. And then you had giant teratorn or condors come and land, and then they would get stuck.
It's a cascading disaster as predators find themselves trapped by their own prey and the sucking tar. That is why scientists have found far more predators than prey. Over 2,000 saber-toothed cats vastly outnumber the 35 mammoths. The other mega-mammal that lured hundreds of predators to the pits was the ancient bison. It was one of the most common creatures of Ice Age LA. These creatures stand 1.5 feet taller than modern bison, with a gigantic set of horns that span nearly 3 feet. They migrated across Ice Age America, their bones found from Canada to the Gulf Coast. And when bison herds moved through Southern California, they too fell victim to the tar pits of La Brea. 300 ancient bison have been found at La Brea, more bones than any other plant eater. But for every trapped bison, there are more than 100 remains of would-be predators. The fierce carnivore called the dire wolf.
Pack of dire wolves says, hey, there's a free lunch.
The dire wolf roamed LA 20,000 years ago. It is a vicious and efficient carnivore, larger than modern wolves, with heavier bones and shorter, more powerful leg muscles.
They were like timber wolves on steroids, and they had particularly large teeth, which were to be bone-cracking features.
Their teeth could tear apart nearly any creature alive. And like modern wolves, these oversized predators hunted in packs. When the wolves come across a creature trapped in the tar, they attack from all sides.
Think about 20 to 30 gray wolves, timber wolves, tearing down a hill after a bison. They would start coming in, they would get stuck, there would be baying and howling. It would be chaos.
A wolf pack, in search of a meal, sinks into the blackness with its intended lunch, buried together for 20,000 years. Over 4,000 dire wolves have been found here at La Brea. And this wall of skulls at the Tar Pit Museum is grisly evidence of the hundreds of dire wolves who died here. Scientists know where these bones came from. The mystery is, where did the tar come from? The answer may be found 20 million years before, when gigantic tectonic plates crashed together, creating a deadly earthquake zone that still threatens to destroy the modern city. The Hollywood Hills provide the backdrop for the towering skyscrapers of downtown Los Angeles. But travel back 20 million years ago, and the movement of Earth's continental plates places the city a mile deep underwater. Here, beneath the waves, lurks one of the largest sea predators in the planet's history. It is called Megalodon, literally meaning giant tooth. When paleontologists first discovered its fossilized teeth, they realized that these ancient sharks must have been 2 to 3 times the size of a modern great white.
A large predatory shark of that size, the size of a school bus, would be probably the most dramatic animal of its time, and probably the most amazing.
At over 50 feet long, this undersea LA local was larger than a T-Rex and more deadly.
We assumed that it preyed on marine mammals. It was a big animal, it had big teeth, and the largest prey species around at that time were marine mammals.
The Megalodon's prey, a squalodon, an ancient toothed whale with a long beak that roamed the waters of Los Angeles. The great shark's body is designed for long-distance cruising. But when it gets close to its intended victim, it puts on a burst of speed.
It's actually swimming in an aggressive way with big, nasty teeth, chasing down hapless whales.
A modern great white often uses his jaws to bite deep into the flesh of its prey, disabling his largest victims before it backs away to let it bleed to death. A megalodon didn't need to wait. His giant teeth simply slice through skin, muscles, flesh, and even bone. 20-million-year-old whale bones show the savage marks of megalodon teeth that slice through them like butter. The megalodon is known as an apex predator, the top of the food chain. It feared nothing, it ate everything. And as the largest beast in the sea, the monster ruled the oceans of Los Angeles. But today, the megalodon's turf is high above the city in the Santa Monica Mountains.
Around LA, there are fossils of fish and other kinds of marine animals way up at the top of the mountains. A lot of people might think that the ocean was way up here, 3,000 feet above sea level, but they didn't consider the idea that the rocks were pushed up out of the ocean.
These mountains were pushed out of the ocean by a series of massive seismic movements. 20 million years ago, the tectonic plates on the bottom of the seafloor begin to move, causing earthquakes that even a megalodon could feel. 20 million years ago, two of these plates slam into each other. The Pacific Plate and the North American Plate suddenly make contact in a slow-motion collision that still rocks our world and terrifies LA. Los Angeles is earthquake country, with over 1,000 minor quakes a year, and an apocalyptic disaster lurking somewhere in the city's future. They call it the Big One, a predicted magnitude 8 or higher earthquake that could destroy the entire city. Every geologist says it's going to happen. No one knows when. And the source of the Big One will be a giant crack in the Earth's crust, formed 20 million years ago, and still being formed today. This crack in the surface of the Earth lies 33 miles north of Los Angeles. It is called the San Andreas Fault, and Los Angeles is dead center in a fault line that runs from Mexico to San Francisco. The Pacific Continental Plate and the North American Plate come together here and continue to slide past each other.
Everything west of the San Andreas Fault is moving at a couple of inches a year toward Alaska today, and it's been doing that for over 20 million years. That means that this entire region of Southern California was 300 miles south.
If LA ever seemed like a different world, the location of the fault line confirms it. The city of Los Angeles is actually on a different continental plate than the rest of America. The pressure of the grinding plates created the iconic LA landscape. And just as the fault line created LA, it may one day destroy it.
The LA Basin, unfortunately, made of all this fairly young sedimentary rock, sand, mud, clay, silt, loosely cemented together. When you shake it, it's kind of like shaking a bowl of Jell-O. You have a bowl of Jell-O and you go like that, and what happens? It does this, and it doesn't stop.
10 million Angelinos work and play in a jelly-like basin of shifting sand, doomed to inevitable destruction from a fault line 20 million years in the making, when continents first clashed. But before that ancient collision, the shores of LA were the scene of carnage, a predatory monster that was faster, meaner, and hungrier than even T-Rex. Today, LA's famous beaches are known for attracting big crowds. But travel back 80 million years ago. LA's beach crowds are bigger, much bigger. This is the Cretaceous era, a period stretching from 145 to 65 million years ago. Deep in the reign of the dinosaurs, the climate is hotter. A shallow sea bisects North America, and Southern California is a jungle.
Just east of LA today, there would have been a mountainous region complete with volcanoes and lush forests. Forest with big tree ferns, a lot of leafy trees like we have today. This is going to be rich in plant and animal life. We could refer to it as the Costa Rica of California.
The LA Basin is 1 mile under the sea. The only parts of the region above sea level are fragments of today's eastern LA suburbs. But California's beaches are still popular.
About 80 million years ago, instead of seeing surfers on the beach, we might have seen duck-billed dinosaurs basking in the surf.
They are called hadrosaurs, a Latin name meaning bulky lizard.
Out of all the prehistoric animals from LA, I really love the hadrosaur for just the wacky look on its skull, with this giant beak and the thousands of teeth within its jaws.
The prehistoric beast can stand on 2 legs like a big bird. From top to tail, it measures 30 feet in length.
A hadrosaur is more commonly known as a duck-billed dinosaur, and it's named for the duck-like shape of its beak. It wasn't a water-dwelling animal, though, like a duck, and it wasn't even a bird, but it was actually a giant herbivorous dinosaur.
Today, honking traffic jams are a daily reality on LA's crowded freeways. During the Cretaceous, there's a noisy honking backup of a different kind.
If you went back to LA 80 million years ago, one of the things that would have impressed you was just the loud rumble and all the trumpeting from these duck-billed dinosaurs.
The hadrosaur creates a sound that may have been both defensive and attractive.
Measurements from the skulls of hadrosaur dinosaurs allow us to build models that replicate how these dinosaurs might have sounded during life.
An unusually large hollow skull cavity in front of the eyes allows the hadrosaur to make the noise. Like a French horn, sound is made when air blows, then resonates through an enlarged and cavernous crest-like skull. Honking was sexy to hadrosaurs. The bigger the crest, the louder the honk, and the more attractive they were to members of the opposite sex. Hadrosaur bones have been found along the entire coast of Southern California. In ancient LA, a hadrosaur dies on the beach, and its corpse washes out to sea.
They lived many miles to the east, and when these animals died, they bloated up and their carcasses floated out to sea, where they were sometimes feasted on by sharks before they dropped to the sea bottom and were preserved as fossils.
Sea sand covers the dinosaur before it rots away, preserving it for 80 million years. Fossils are not the only pieces of hadrosaurs still around in Los Angeles. At the border of the Mojave Desert, you can find not only bones, but footprints. This massive piece of sandstone preserves the footprints of a small dinosaur as it walked across wet sand in the Cretaceous.
They're actually the oldest remains of dinosaurs in the state. You can see a footprint here, a footprint there, a footprint here, and a footprint there. So what we have is the evidence of dinosaurs that walked in this ancient coastal desert 160 million years ago.
But following closely behind is another set of footprints from a creature that likely called it lunch. Meet Cretaceous LA's most ferocious prehistoric beast, the deadly Albertosaur.
Albertosaurus looks like a slenderized T-Rex, same general form of face and teeth and the funny little two-fingered hands, but much longer and more slender, sort of a turbo T-Rex, really fast.
Weighing slightly less than an African rhino, a typical adult Albertosaur measures 25 feet in length and is able to run up to 20 miles an hour.
Duck-billed dinosaurs don't have sharp teeth or horns, so they would have made a great snack for an animal like Albertosaurus.
When an Albertosaur attacks, the duckbills have one final defense: their distinctive honking noises.
What's really interesting to me, among other things, is duckbills produce sound. High-energy sound and low frequencies will scramble your brain. Up close, a group of duckbills could produce a wave, a shockwave of sound that you couldn't get through.
In the wall of sound defense, most of the great herd of duckbills may have gotten free, but not all. A ruthless Albertosaur could cut one individual from the herd and make his move.
They're built like gigantic roadrunners. And like a roadrunner, they would attack their prey from above. An Albertosaur has that S-shaped neck of a bird, but it's more muscular. It could make that plunge from above and produce a series of feints, trials, and finally get the killing opportunity.
As a hungry Albertosaur gorged on flesh at the edge of the sea, he might have gotten a glimpse of another top predator. Larger, faster, hungrier. And this giant carnivore lurked just offshore, waiting to feed. The iconic Hollywood sign looms over Los Angeles, the show business capital of the world. But millions of years before any horror flicks were ever imagined, real-life monsters fought actual life and death dramas in, over, and under LA. Travel back 100 million years ago. The entire LA basin is under an ancient ocean.
Where you're standing right here in front of the Hollywood sign, we would have been surrounded by sea monsters swimming their way through the prehistoric ocean.
One of the biggest beasts roaming LA's ancient sea is the 40-foot-long plesiosaur.
A plesiosaur is a carnivorous lizard that lived in the ocean at the time of the dinosaurs. A plesiosaur looked something like a snake strung through the body of a turtle. It had this long neck, sort of a rotund body, and a set of 4 flippers.
The plesiosaur is not a dinosaur, since dinosaurs by definition live on land. But these monstrous sea reptiles were not fish either. They breathed air, not water, and had to come to the surface to breathe, much like modern sea mammals. With its extra-long elastic neck, the plesiosaur is also known as an elasmosaurus.
100 million years ago, all of LA would have been the playground for Elasmosaurus.
The deep, cold ocean landscape of underwater Los Angeles was well suited for the hunting abilities of the plesiosaur.
Off California in the Cretaceous time, the coast fell away very rapidly into deep water. You're more likely to have open, clean water with lots of fish in deep water than you would in muddy, turbid, near-shore water. So you have these magnificent, long-neck, fast-swimming elasmosaurs in California.
The creature's elongated neck and strange, narrow head give the plesiosaur a surprising method of hunting.
Plus, their eyes are on the top of their head. They had to swim under a school of fish or squid and dart up, get them.
When hunting, it would probably have the neck extended, but then if it saw some fish, let's say up in front, it could slowly pull back the head, keep flying along the water, and then strike out like a snake to grab the fish.
Despite its giant size and bizarre appearance, the plesiosaur glides gracefully through the ancient LA seas. The secret? Rocks in their stomachs.
Some plesiosaur fossils are found with these stomach stones called gastroliths within their body cavity, and many scientists think that they were probably using these to regulate the buoyancy of their body, so to take them up or down through the water column.
Modern scuba divers use weight belts to give them neutral buoyancy, so they don't float and they don't sink. Plesiosaurs created their own primitive weight belts.
You don't want to spend energy trying to stay up or to stay down. So if you could go up to a beach, and you could with that long neck, and grab a rock now and then until you have the exact neutral buoyancy that you need. Now you're free to just swim about in the ocean with very little effort.
Agile, fast, hungry. The plesiosaur is the key predator of the prehistoric LA basin. But the plesiosaur is not alone. Lurking nearby is the monster's nemesis, a sleek 40-foot killer with a taste for blood. This is the mosasaur, a formidable predator, able to glide up and down effortlessly. The mosasaur's raw power means it owns LA's Cretaceous ocean.
And they have a very powerful skull with very big, robust, heavy teeth that were probably able to crush the shells of a number of the animals and invertebrates that lived in these ancient late Cretaceous seas. So we're talking about a very serious hunter.
And when a mosasaur meets a plesiosaur, it's a battle of epic proportions. LA's Staples Center, home court for championship teams like the Lakers, where Angelenos come to see great rivals clash. But millions of years ago, mighty deep-sea beasts fought each other here for more than bragging rights. Travel back 100 million years ago. LA is underwater, teeming with primeval life. This is the ancient battleground for two prehistoric heavyweights. In one corner is an incredible hulk, the long-necked plesiosaur. In the other, the violent predator it fears the most, the mighty mosasaur. Only mosasaur has the size, strength, and killer instinct to challenge plesiosaur as apex predator in the Cretaceous seas. The power of this prehistoric killer is revealed in a fossil found in the sea cliffs just south of LA.
This is probably the finest mosasaur skull found on the west coast of North America. This animal would have been swimming right here in LA, in the ocean. As you can see, it was about the size of an average crocodile. And like a crocodile, it has wonderful sharp teeth for preying on other species.
But this croc-sized skull comes from a baby. Full-grown mosasaurs get over 40 feet long, with jaws large enough to literally swallow a horse or a man. The mosasaur is remarkably well equipped to prey upon LA's prehistoric water world.
One of the interesting things about mosasaurs, they're related to varanid lizards. And like a lot of lizards, lizards have a third eye. They have a light-sensing capability on the top of their head, the parietal eye. So this thing could see almost about 180 degrees. They could see to both sides and shadows from the top.
It also has an articulated jaw that allows the beast to swallow huge prey.
These animals would have been able to ingest prey that was very big for their muscle. The same way that sometimes you see a snake eating something that you couldn't really believe it's able to eat.
The powerful lizard's jaw works like a bear trap.
It had a hinge in its jaw right here where it can flap it down to get large prey and snap it shut rapidly. And if you're catching fish, a rapid close is important.
If hunting a plesiosaur, the mosasaur has the advantage in terms of sheer power. But the plesiosaur has speed and agility on its side, leaving a hunting mosasaur far behind.
Mosasaurs are long and sinuous. That means they're not especially fast. They could do a quick dart. They're not fast in an open sea.
Therefore, the giant predator is forced to use cunning.
Some of them might have been ambush hunters where they'd hide behind rocks or reefs and dart out.
A battle between these two giants would pit speed versus power. In this particular fight, the mosasaur wins. The remains of the losers of these ancient sea battles drift to the bottom of the ancient Cretaceous Sea, joining the remains of millions of one-cell organisms. And this rich layer of organic matter eventually will become one of the key elements of modern Los Angeles. Wherever there was a primeval sea, with its layers of soupy organic goo trapped in sediment, we find oil. Over the millennia, this material will be compressed and transformed. 80 million years ago, dinosaur flesh is embedded in the mixture. 20 million years ago, continents clash and push it up into dry land. 40,000 years ago, it becomes the tomb of mammoths and saber-toothed cats. And finally, the ancient one-cell organisms transform into petroleum, which bubbles to the surface at LA's La Brea tar pits. LA's famous car culture is fueled by nothing less than the ancient remains of prehistoric creatures that once lived here. A forward-looking, auto-centric city powered by, of all things, fossil fuels. This sunny patch of greenery and ancient tar lies only a few feet away from the teeming masses of Los Angeles and Hollywood. A dark and bubbling reminder of what this ancient land was like when it was prehistoric.